Welcome to another one of our Facebook Lives on Tuesdays. Hope you all had a great 4th. I had a wonderful 3-day weekend, and I actually sat in my sewing room for quite a while. And I opened my window to let in the air and the light, and I made a pair of West End pants that I already had cut out from the staycation a couple of weeks ago. It was one of the projects I didn't get completed, but I got it done. And I worked on a new pattern, which I'm very excited about, and we'll be introducing it in the coming, I don't know, I'm going to say weeks, but it could be months, I suppose. But it'll be weeks, I think. So I had a lot to do, and I had a lot of fun. And I turned on my Audible book on tape, listened to a tape while I was sewing. I've been wanting a she shed in my backyard. I mean, I really want one. I want a little she shed that I can open up the doors to the wide open air and look out and just have my sewing machine and my serger and a little cutting table and a few things. I don't want a crowded space. I want a little front porch where I can sit and do some hand stitching. So I've been talking about this she shed for a while, and my husband, who is has never in our marriage said no to me about anything that I want, did make a comment about the she shed business, and he said, "So what about that 5,000 square foot she shed that you have downtown where you go every day?" And I went, "Well, that's different." But I thought it was kind of a funny comment. So I'm working on getting my she shed, but I sort of had my sewing room she shed over the weekend when I opened my windows and let the light in and had a wonderful time. All right, so we've been loving a fabric for a long time that is called linen knit. And over the last couple of years, we've had many colors of it. We've made lots of garments in it, and I still love it. So I ordered another 5 new colors of the linen knit. Linen knit is a fabric that you would see if you walk into an Eileen Fisher store or an Oscar store. You see this fabric in ready to wear. And so I'm always someone who is wanting to follow the trends of the time, and I want to sew like I can't or won't buy, and that would be, I want to sew on linen knit because I want those clothes. So these are the 5 colors that we ordered. Beautiful pale pink, this lovely pearly blue-gray, my color of lime green, a blue that everyone can wear, doesn't matter your coloring, it's just sort of that universal blue, and that perfect lipstick red. So those are the 5 colors that we have currently. And I want to show you some clothes that we've made over time using this fabric. I'll start out with the helix top. The helix top is a very interesting pattern in that it is essentially 2 long rectangles. Of course, the rectangles have a couple of shapes to them, little angles and so forth. So you cut out 2 rectangles and sew them together, and they become this diagonal shape. So here is the linen knit in the blue that is the front, and it wraps around and becomes 1 sleeve. And then we've used a matching cotton jersey for the back that becomes the sleeve as well. So this turns out to be a nice basic t-shirt, but it's really interesting to sew, really fun to sew, and it's not sewing as usual. You have to follow our directions because you don't just intuitively know how to put this together. But this is a combination of 2 blues, and then I made one in white with a solid white jersey on the back that becomes 1 sleeve, and the white linen knit for the front that becomes another sleeve. And I just simply shortened the sleeve on this to give it a little more summer look. So helix top. I happen to really love the Bristol top. And to me, this is just an upscale sweatshirt. So this entire garment is in the linen knit, band, cuffs, yoke, binding, everything. So this is the Bristol. You can see it has this interesting shape at the back, sort of V shape at the back. This is also very interesting to me. When we first put this pattern out, I thought this particular yoke design might feel odd when you have it on, and when you raise your arms you'd be restricted. But when you wear this, you don't feel that at all. It's a very normal feeling fit on the garment. I know I've shown this before, but I want to show it again because I do love the idea of combining a woven with a knit. So this is the Liberty shirt with a neckline from our Mix-It shirt, and that's all in woven, the sleeve in the front, but I did use the linen knit for the back. When I was in Italy many years ago, I walked into a very high-end retail boutique inside of a very nice hotel, and I saw this kind of combination, woven with knit, and the prices of the shirts were just astronomical. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So I decided, oh, well, I can do that. So I came home and decided to combine the woven with the knit. Had fun with the Liberty shirt. So this is our Barcelona top that has this sort of asymmetric inserted cowl neck with the drapey neck. And I've shortened the sleeve on this, again, to make it a little more summery. And notice the drawstring on the bottom, which you can draw up or not even put the drawstring in there. But again, it makes a beautiful linen top with this linen knit. It's very drapey, very cool, very nice to wear. I've paired this with a skirt made from the E-dress, which is a download pattern, and the bottom of this is just the linen knit. So this is a viscose jersey, and the bottom band is the linen knit. And the last one I want to show you is the pearl jacket. It's the same jacket that I have on in the black linen knit. This one is in the same green that we have currently. And I just really love this garment. It's one of those garments that I just throw on all the time. If I'm a little bit cool in the office, I'll just throw it on. I don't know, it works by itself or works as a one or two or third piece. This is over the Eureka top, also made in the linen knit. But notice this drawstring here. And the fun thing about this drawstring is, on this garment, is that you can pull that up and ruche the whole front and totally change the look of the garment. Sometimes I'll make it with the drawstring, sometimes I make it without the drawstring, doesn't matter, but it makes a fun alternative look to that. So I want to talk to you about a little tool that I use. I found this garment the other day and I realized that the drawstring had come out of it. Well, there's nothing more frustrating than trying to get a skinny little drawstring through a casing. So I found this great little tool that's called a Easy Threader Flexible Needle. So it has a little needle end on it, or a little hole, like an eye, big eye. So you would pin the eye part to one end of the drawstring, and then you would feed this end through the casing and pull the entire drawstring through the casing. It's so easy. I've done this many times in repairing things that I've even bought, particularly when I'm making something like this. We don't sell this tool, but I Googled it yesterday, and you can get it from a lot of places. So if you're interested in this, I have found this to be extremely handy. And if you're like me, you have to have every gizmo that the sewing world ever invented, and this is just another one. So also over the weekend, I decided that I would make something so simple. This has come from Betsy, who some of you have met and have seen photos of her. She works for us. She does all of our marketing and social media work and our So Confident books and production on that. So she's invaluable to our company. But she does have time to sew, and she, a couple of weeks ago, walked in with this wonderful Shirred Longline vest. So I decided to make one in the linen knit. So I made this red one. And this is made out of literally 3 rectangles. One rectangle for the front, a different size rectangle for the back, and a little rectangle for the back neck. And by the time you hem it and sew 1 seam, 2 seams basically, 2 shoulder seams, do a little bit of gathering, do a bar tack for creating the armhole, you've made a very simple, very easy to wear long line vest, we're calling it. So I wanted to talk to you, oh, and here's the deal. So this is now printed up for us. Erin and I created this little 3-page document on what you cut, what rectangles and what sizes of rectangles to cut for various sizes, and all the instructions for how to make this vest. So all of these linen knits are on sale for another week for 20% off. And if you buy any quantity of the linen knit, the instructions for making this vest will be in your account. So it's free. It's totally cool. So, all right. So let me talk a little bit about how you sew this sort of fabric. Some of this will be a repeat because it's a knit, and I've been talking about knits over the course of all of these Facebook Lives, but I don't think it hurts to repeat anything. I don't know about you, but it takes about 10 times for me to hear it before it really sinks in. So it's polyester thread on knits. You want the strength of that, but mostly you want the little bit of give of polyester thread on a fabric that also wants to have some give or stretch. You have to have a walking foot or use your even feed foot or even feed feature on your sewing machine. You have to be able to feed both pieces of fabric through the sewing machine evenly so that there's not a drag on the top one. And then, of course, I know you are sick and tired of hearing me talk about fusee web, but if there were ever a time to want some fusee web, it is with sewing with linen knit. This is not particularly difficult to sew, but it is, as you can tell by its drape, fairly wiggly. It's a knit, so it has a tendency to curl. It's a jersey, so it has a tendency to curl. So all of those things need to be controlled a little bit, and the only way to do that is with using a fusee web, which I'm going to demonstrate in a minute where I use it. And then I will get some of my tissue paper to use as a stabilizer in certain areas, which I'm going to talk about as well. I also get out my good old tailor's ham, which we talked about last week. And when you're putting this rectangle for the back neck, it's a rectangle, but you want it to curve around your neck. You can see on this hanger that it wants to have a shape to it. So I form that by putting it over the tailor's ham, pinning it, and then steaming it so that I can get this into a nice shape. I also do a little bit of slip stitching to get this edge of this rectangle attached to the seam. And I'll do that over the ham, so I'm building in the shape as I'm pinning it and sewing it with my slip stitch. We also have we're continuing our special on our tailor's hams, so they're 20% off as well. It's time to grab one now. You can tell in just 2 weeks I've used it for 2 different processes, so can't live without my tailor's ham. Okay, I'm going to talk about gathering. Now, I did this a while back when I was talking about the Venice shirt, but I decided to experiment on this linen knit to see if I was going to use the same technique that I always do on gathering on something that has somewhat of a semi-sheer look to it. And by golly, I did. So the truth is, I shirred the front of one side of this garment differently than the other side. And I can see the difference up close. I doubt if you can pick it up on this Facebook Live video, but one is better than the other, and the better one is this technique. So here's what I do. First of all, I wanted to keep the shirring or the gathering out of the front hem allowance and the side hem allowance as well. So I only ran a gathering thread, I'll call it, I'll call it inside of the hem to inside of the hem, just a certain portion of the shoulder seam. So this red line represents a thread, and I use something like coordinate or a buttonhole twist, but a little heavier thread than your normal sewing thread. Something that is not going to break easily. So the red line here represents laying that piece of coordinate thread at about 1/2 inch from the raw edge over here. And then I'm going to zigzag, and this is the green zigzag. I'm going to zigzag over that. Now this has been, I'm gathering this, I'm showing this on 2 pieces of fabric, but you're going to be gathering this on your single layer of fabric first. So I'm going to zigzag over that coordinate using a 3mm wide zigzag stitch and 4mm long. And that's what I determined was best for this particular fabric. So I made some tests to make sure that my zigzag covered that coordinate, didn't draw up the fabric too much and from side to side, and that seemed to be the width and the length that worked best for this particular fabric. This number can change for various other fabrics. So I zigzagged over that, and then I put in a pin at one end of that gathering, and I wrapped the coordinate thread in a sort of figure 8, kind of toggled it, I called it, so it anchored it. So then I could pull the red thread and gather my gathering along and get it really nice and even. So then once I put the gathered portion on my other piece, the back, right sides together, then I knew I could sew. That's the blue line, and that's 5/8 of an inch from the raw edge. So I'm just at the left edge of that zigzag. So if the coordinate is at 1/2 inch from the edge and you're zigzagging over it, the left side of that zigzag is at 5/8 of an inch. And that's where I'm going to sew. Now, a couple of weeks ago when I talked about gathering before, I talked about a tool called a stiletto, which I totally love. We are sold out of stilettos. We are having a terrible time getting them, so I can't sell you another stiletto, at least currently. So I didn't have my stiletto at home because I had it here at my big she shed. And so I used the end of a seam gauge to kind of press those gathers down as I sewed, just to try to keep my gathers even so they're not moving and being pushed ahead of my presser foot. So that's the trick to gathering. Then of course I used my 3-thread serge with my isocord serging thread and finished off the seam, and there you have it. So that's one trick. Now let's talk about hemming linen gauze or linen knit. So this is a finished hem that I did without benefit of a walking foot, without benefit of gluing it down. I just sewed it, like some of you might do without really thinking about it. And I think you can see that this is very puckered. Now I might be able to steam some of that out, but I doubt if I could steam all of it out. So you need some assistance when you are hemming this to delete all of this. Now by the way, when you sew and hem this on the vertical, like the side seam edges or the front hem on this garment, I didn't have nearly as much trouble. Now I used my walking foot and I did glue the seams down, but I didn't have nearly as much trouble. It's really on the cross grain, which is the stretchiest part of the knit, where you're going to have this bubbling and ripple effect. So I cut myself 2 templates, one which is 1 3/4 inches wide. That's the width of the total hem allowance. And then I cut another one. This is out of a manila file folder, 1 1/4 inches, so that I have a 1/2 inch turn up or turn down, and I have a finished hem, very nice looking finished hem. So you don't see any serging or finishing other than just a nice turned edge on the inside of this garment. Because of its flow, you want to be able to have it just as good looking on the inside of the garment as the outside of the garment. So I will start by taking my widest template and pressing the edge of the template up, or excuse me, the edge of the fabric up to the top of the template and pressing through all these layers. Then I take the narrower one and place it in the crease that I've just made and press up the remaining whatever is left, which should be about 1/2 inch. Now this is where I then put my fusee web. And once I fuse this paper covered line of glue, then I can pull the paper off, and what's left is this little tacky line of glue. So then I can turn the hem in place and fuse the hem in place. This is not going to move. This is in lieu of hand basting. I find it to be much better, much more even. It also can be undone a little bit. It's like a post-it note. Bring it down, put it back up if you get it wrong the first time. So no, I'm sorry I said that word. I don't even want to go there with those words. My fusee web is on the turn down 1/2 inch edge so that when it comes off, I just have this ability to fuse this hem in place. People ask me all the time if this fusee web glue gums up my needle. It does not. It's very, very sheer. And they also ask me if it comes out. Well, I don't know if it comes out or not. This is so sheer, this product, that it does not change the character of this hem. It does not make it stiff. You don't even know that it's in there. So I've never bothered to take a hem out, take the stitching out to see if it's gone. I'm assuming it washes out, but it's just not a problem. It's just not a factor at all. So you're going to love this product. So this is the finished hem, turned up 2 times, and see the difference between this hem and this hem. But the other thing that I used when sewing the hem was a strip of tissue paper. I saved the excess pattern tissue from my patterns, and as I'm sewing through the tissue paper, and then when I'm done, it just tears right off. We use the best paper that there is in the tissue pattern world. We pay more money for our tissue than I think most people do, actually. If you're out there buying one of the big 4 patterns, the pattern paper is likely to be a manila colored, and it's not as good a quality. That's actually an even better tissue paper to use because it tears away even easier. Ours is just nice enough that I do have to tear it. It doesn't just fall off. It does sort of, but it comes off very, very easily. So the polyester thread, walking foot, paper stabilizer, fusee web. I think that's it. You should be able to make a perfect hem. If you want to know more in detail about sewing some of these gauzes, crinkly things, laces, we do have the standalone tutorials on our website, and the one that I'm referring to today is sewing crinkles, gauzes, and lace. And a lot of what I've talked about will be in that tutorial. Our tutorials are sold individually, and you can print them off, put them in a notebook, keep them as sort of your library. It's a PDF format so that you can see it slide by slide. You can hold on to the page that you're wanting to look at. It's not a video, so it's not moving too quickly. You can stay put on an image until you're ready to move on, which I like that format. And then also, of course, I've referred to this book many times, but my Sewing Knits from Fit to Finish, again, has all of this information about templates and walking feet and fusee webs and hemming and turned hems and all of that. So check out my book as well. I have a little tool that I want to run by you to see if you're interested in it. I've shown Erin this tool. She's not very excited about it, but I kind of am. So I want to see what you think. We don't have these yet, but it's something that I might order if I get some response. So if you think you like this tool, just put it on Facebook that, yeah, I want one of those tools. So this is called a stretch ruler. It may be kind of hard to see. Let me get this back here so you can see it against something, a color. Maybe that helps. All right, so you would hold 5 inches of fabric from here to here, and then you would stretch it and pull it, and it gives you the percentage of stretch of a fabric that you have, whether it's 10%, 20, 30, 40, whatever. I thought it was kind of useful. Yes, you can do this without a ruler, but I think I said a minute ago I have to have the gizmos. Why not? So, you know, if this is something of interest, let me know. We can order them in. Next week, I'm going to talk about something more artistic. Nancy Schreiber and I, Nancy Schreiber mostly, with my assistants, taught a class both in Chateau du Mans in France and in Eureka Springs using paint and stencils to embellish our garments. So I'm going to talk about stenciled garments next week. So I hope you'll join in for that. But I'm sure we have some questions in the meantime. Erin is busily taking a look at things over there. Do we have any questions?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, never mind. I want to show you some more fabrics that came in. Yes, thank you very much. We got 6 fabrics in this week that are quite interesting. We've never had anything quite like them. They are solid color linens. We've talked about linen in this whole wrinkling category, and some people just can't stand it. Well, these are pre-wrinkled, pre-weathered, pre-worn, and they're fantastic. So I'm going to show them to you. Okay, sorry about that. Now, you can see this is already rumpled. This is a wonderful golden wheat color. Reminds me of Kansas in the summer. And then, again, my favorite color of green. These are pure linen, 100% linen. And they're meant to be exactly like this. You're not going to want to press these and try to get them flat. If you like this sort of weathered, wonderful, worn look, vintage, these are your fabrics. And the darker green, this is Erin's favorite color of the moment. And then we have 3 fabrics that are also linen that are already crinkled. Not just rumpled, but rumpled and crinkled. So this is a great sort of steel blue denim, weathered denim I call it. A gray, mid-gray, mixture of black and white that forms the gray, but you can see how crinkled it is. They're still drapey, really comfortable to wear. And as I said, I think last week, linen is the coolest fabric to wear in terms of temperature. I love this ice blue. Talk about cool. Make some pants, make a top, make a jacket. The weight is perfect for either one. So the specials for this week are the 6 fabrics that I just showed you, the 6 linens, 20% off. The 5 colors of linen knit, 20% off. And with that, you get the complete instructions for making the Shirred Longline vest, which is the red vest. The patterns that are on special are the Helix top and pants, the Liberty shirt, the Bristol top, the pearl and opal jacket, like I have on, and the Barcelona. Those 5 patterns are on special as well. We have the ham, the tailor's ham on special for 20%. The patterns are printed patterns, and they're $18 rather than $22.95.
No code.
No code, just if you buy any of those products, they've already been discounted on the website. Okay. Now I think we have questions.
Yes, one of them, they would like to see the linen vest on. The
Okay.
Vest on you.
By the way, I have on an ET in a white jersey with a little black binding. I haven't actually, I don't know if I've had this on. I've had it on a mannequin, so you'll have to tell me how it looks. Does it look good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's the back. You can see that the front is longer than the back. That's intentional. And the bar tack creates the armhole. So there's no side seam to this. It's just basically 3 rectangles that are sewn together at the shoulders with this little neck band to form around the neck, and then all of the edges are hemmed and sewn. Super easy. This is pretty cute.
That's really neat.
Yeah. I don't know if I've never worn red before. You think I should wear red? Maybe.
Definitely.
My color's changing as I'm fading.
Okay, so you have it, you can see that it's a little sheer. People were asking about lining, what you wear underneath it.
Yeah, I wear this. The question is, it's sheer. What do you wear underneath it? I don't think this is a singular garment. I think you wear it over a t-shirt, a tank, a shirt, a dress. I actually had it on the dress form earlier. We were going to show it that way over the no-toe tee as a dress, and it looked great. It just didn't kind of work in our setup today. But you could wear this with jeans. You could take this on your cruise and throw it on over your bathing suit and some quick pants. I think it's pretty versatile. I can see it also pretty dressy if you wanted to go to dinner and have something just a little bit special with some nice jewelry. So to me, it's over a t-shirt, tank, top, shirt, dress, that sort of thing.
Okay, there's a couple questions about even feed versus walking foot. Do you use them both? Are they the same?
The question is compare and discuss walking feet versus even feed feature. Both of those are intended for the same purpose, and that is feeding 2 layers of fabric through the sewing machine at the same rate. Right now, without either one of those, the feed dogs are what is driving the fabric through the sewing machine, and the presser foot is just simply following it on top. But when you so a walking foot is a separate device. It's a presser foot, a separate accessory that you purchase. Your sewing machine company should have them. If not, you can buy it as a generic device. But it is called a walking foot, and you do install it in place of your regular presser foot. Even feed feature is usually a button, a symbol, an icon, a lever, a something on your sewing machine that's built in. It's something that you purchase as part of the sewing machine options. And on my machine, it is built in. I love it ever since I've gotten a machine that has the ability to just flip that lever down. I engage the even feed feature all the time, 100%. Now, my sense is that there are times when a walking foot might be slightly better than the even feed feature. I'm guessing here, but there have been times that I have not engaged my even feed feature and installed my walking foot because I thought it did a little bit better job. So again, all the gizmos, I own them all just in case.
Does the linen knit have a lot of stretch? Do you need to size up from what you would normally make from a rayon jersey? This
fabric, does the fabric have a lot of stretch? Do you need to size up? The fabric has, well, I should use my little gizmo. Let's just see how much stretch it has. So, 5 inches of fabric stretches. It has a 40% stretch. How about that? I've never been able to answer anything like that so accurately. Has a lot of stretch. Would I size up? No. Would I size down? Maybe. But I think it totally depends on what you're making and the style. The jacket that I had on, and the black jacket, is probably a size medium. I could have made a small and been fine, but because of the drape and the flow, I think you can just make it in the size that you would normally make it in, a woven or a regular knit, and you would be fine.
Is there a wrong or right side to the linen knit?
Is there a wrong or right side to the linen knit? Yes, it is a jersey knit, and jersey knits have a definite right side and a definite wrong side. The right side has a vertical rib, and the back side has a horizontal loop, so it's like knit and purl. And the knit side is on the right side, and the purl side is on the wrong side. I hope I said that correctly. When you stretch this fabric on the cross grain, it curls to the right side. That's how you know the right side if you can't identify it visually.
So you did a double hem. Why did you do that on a knit fabric?
I did a double hem. Why did I do that on a knit fabric? I wanted to have clean edges. I didn't want to see a serged edge. And this particular edge, even though knits don't ravel, not all knit fabrics have beautiful raw edges. And I think that linen knit is one of them. If you cut the linen knit, it's not as pure and pretty as you want. So another turn really cleans that up, makes that look much more sophisticated, ups the quality of the look on the inside of the garment.
Would you ever cover stitch this hem?
The question is, would I ever cover stitch the hem? The answer is yes, I would. I didn't, but you could. Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, can you remind people, we just got a shipment of Fusey Web, so we do have it in stock.
Yes, this is a reminder that we do have a lot of Fusey Web. We just got it in stock. We got a big shipment from Japan, and we have quite a bit of Fusey Web in stock. It was out of stock for about an hour and a half last week, or a day and a half.
And then also, can you tell them it's 2 yards for that?
Okay, this particular garment that I have on, the Shirred Longline vest, takes 2 yards of fabric, any size. The pattern that we're going to give to you in your account is in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. And any of those sizes takes 2 yards. It's 60 inches wide. But you're going to get this no matter what quantity you order. But you're going to need 2 yards if you're going to make this vest.
And no discount code. You already said that. Do they need to pre-shrink the linen knit?
The question is, do you need to pre-shrink the linen knit? If you're going to wash the garment, yes. This linen knit does shrink. I can't tell you exactly how much, but enough that you're going to want to pre-wash it. I think for this sort of garment, if this is the kind of thing you're going to throw in the washing machine, you're definitely going to want to pre-wash the fabric. If you're making something that you're not going to wash ultimately, then you would not. You would dry clean the garment. But it's a completely washable fabric. Doesn't change the character particularly. I think this fabric does tend to have a little bit of a sheen on it when it comes off the bolt. The sheen might lessen just a little bit after the washing, but definitely pre-wash it.
Okay. Could you serge the vest, like the entire garment?
Could you serge the entire garment? The gathering process would be tricky. I think you would have to, I would use, if I were serging the whole garment, I would be able to serge the shoulder seams. I would be able to serge the rectangle onto the back neck. I would still have to stitch or hand stitch the back neck facing down. And you still have to do something with the hems. You could leave them as a serged raw edge, I suppose.
I like the weight of the hem.
But the weight of the hem is good. So I don't know that it's a totally sergeable garment, not completely.
Could you create some sort of tie or closure for the front?
Could you create some sort of tie or closure for the front? Absolutely. You could create a button, a tie. You could also belt just the front, leave the back loose, and run a belt through underneath the back and come around the front. I think that'd be pretty cool.
All right, could you make this in a woven?
Can you make this in a woven? Yes. In the instructions, we say that it requires 2 yards of knit or woven fabric. Betsy made hers in a woven rayon. It was lovely, and I chose to make it knit, so yes.
What is the white top?
The white top is the helix top, the one that's 2 rectangles that end up being this helix swirl type construction. I've shortened the sleeve from the pattern. That's the only difference. The blue one behind it has the normal pattern length of sleeve.
Do we have the linen knit in white or black?
We do not have the linen knit in white or black. Only these 5 colors.
Okay, how wide is the fusee web?
How wide is the fusee web? It's 3/8 of an inch wide. I use this width quite a bit. Occasionally I will cut this in half widthwise and just use a little sliver. That can work too, depending on the condition and where I'm using it.
Okay, that's it. Betsy posted a lot of links in the comments to the fabrics, so people can have easy access to that.
All right, Betsy has posted a lot of the links to the fabrics and the patterns and things that have been commented on in the video. So thank you so much. We'll still answer questions after this video on Facebook or by email. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.